Welcome back, friends. Let's look at what we've been through as a channel so far. If it's your first time here, I've barely introduced myself, told the story of buying an airplane out of annual, dropped several hints about trusting your aviation maintenance professionals, got the airplane running, ripped the interior apart, started cleaning things up, and have I left out many other things? Yes. Can you ask me about those things? Yes. I'd be happy to go into more specifics in the comments, but just remember, these videos are not intended to be instructional. Now we are here, spraying corrosion protection on the exposed aluminum areas that are easily within reach. By now you're probably laughing at how much of a hack job I did with the zinc phosphate, but just remember, no one will see it except the 20 of you who've gotten to this point of the video. What's better is we'll be covering much of this area with insulation that we got from Airtex. This video isn't sponsored by Airtex, and as a matter of fact, much of this video is sponsored by my own 401k, but Airtex is worth an honorable mention for making it easy and relatively affordable to do some or all of your airplane's interior refresh on your own. Alright, pay attention here because this part is actually pretty nerdy and cool. I used a 3D scanner to get a model of the interior of the airplane with about 1 millimeter of accuracy. Then at home, I took that 3D model and used a CAD program to draw out the bits of insulation that would eventually fit in most of these cavities. The alternative was to use cardboard and template them that way, but in 100-degree heat and no hanger, it makes you work smarter. I know I casually mentioned the 3D scanner, but many great hobbyist level 3D scanners exist that could get you similar results. A trip to my local print shop got me the templates that I then used to transfer the shapes onto the Airtex half-inch insulation. And almost like magic, every piece fit with little to no trimming, and the installation job took maybe 30 minutes at the airplane, but 2 hours at my desk. While that was happening in the background, we used a company called Aviation Safety Products to get the seatbelts rewebbed. And not before long, it was time to install the carpets and secure the rest of the insulation. The next project to tackle was the rear seat bench, and this is where the rear seats are connected to the airplane. It also covers up some of the gear mechanism, the flap mechanisms, and auto control cables. You might have spotted this clip in a previous video on the channel, and what you're looking at is a CNC router cutting out the design for a new rear bench out of marine grade plywood. You know, I think one of the things I realized is as you work on some of these projects, the thing next to it starts looking a little worse than it did before you took that piece out. So we decided to go ahead and paint some of the trim panels, the aluminum trim panels that were in the airplane that cover the heat ducts along the floor. Just paint them black to match the carpet. I know one or two of you probably have a 70s vintage Piper Cherokee or Piper Arrow, so I hope these photos are useful. Of course, the heart of the upholstery job are the seats and the sidewalls, and you'll remember that this is what we started with. I took really good pictures here just so I could remember how it all came together in case I decided to do it on my own, but thankfully that thought left my brain very quickly and I found a local upholstery shop that was able to deliver this. By this point of the project, maybe 4 months after I had bought the airplane, many of you would have noticed that I have access to a hangar now, and that really changed the game for getting things kicked into gear on the mechanical side. But we're still focusing on getting the airplane to a point where it's easy and comfortable to sit on the inside. I'm going to pause here just for a quick second to mention something that happened around this time in the summer of 2023, closer to the fall perhaps. There was a fire at the Savannah airport that ended up destroying an entire row of T hangars and damaged several airplanes inside those hangars. Luckily, the Arrow was under the shade port and we fared just fine, but just goes to show you what's happening in general aviation at the moment. I'd eventually have to turn my attention to the cracked plastics that we talked about in the previous episode and used a product called SEM or SEM Color Coat to get the plastics to the color that I needed it to be. I also painted the rear bulkhead, which led to this really cinematic shot, and then used SEM on the headliner to get it to a white instead of the brown that had turned over the years. It's always just great to take a look forward and see exactly what we're going for. And this is one of the photos that I took after I'd gotten most of the things put back together. I think you'll notice that the instrument panel has an overlay that I also made out of a scrap piece of carbon fiber, but I'll talk about that at some other time. I've said before that I don't complain about having to do a lot of this work outside, and these are just a couple clips of why. Well, I'm sitting here just realizing that I don't have really nice video of what the completed interior looks like, but I'll get that in a future clip. I believe the next few videos are either going to be me flying the airplane and just having some fun, or showing you some of the other components that were required to get the airplane into annual and airworthy. If you want to see one or the other, just feel free to leave a comment down below, or go to Instagram and find Open Source GA, just like the name of this channel, and leave me a comment or send me a message there. I hope you've enjoyed everything you've seen here today, and I hope to see you again soon.